what I find fascinating is that you can't often approach communicating with other people head on. And this is, I'm just thinking of, the problem that I face in terms of communicating to other people about the Reciprocity Project. And it's really fascinating because if you approach it head on and you simply tell people this is this thing, nobody really understands it. And they don't really get it, right? If you just talk about how this thing works, nobody cares. But if you come at it from a sideways approach and you really go from one direction and you think about it, as orthogonal to what you're actually saying, and you think about it as, how can I think about what other people are feeling and communicate that to what those other people are feeling? And that's like a really hard thing to tap into, because you have to remember to put yourself in other people's shoes. It's not necessarily, the important thing is not necessarily that you are telling people how something works, but you're really thinking and connecting with the emotional part of what people are thinking about and feeling. And the more that you actually capture that, the more that you, the more that people actually pay attention to that particular information. And it's fascinating because there's a lot of stuff that happens with that you have to uncover and unlock that I just didn't expect to happen. And a lot of this has to do with if you go too quickly in terms of either one of those, if you sort of think about on either dimension, that if you go too emotional, you get very strong responses, or you can, but often you'll just miss the mark. You have no idea in terms of this, who's resonating with what. And then on the other side, it's like if you're just providing no information, then you're kind of missing the mark, because then you're not communicating anything to anybody. And it's this sort of sweet spot of communicating something that, matters to you with the communicating what matters to other people. And it's really fascinating. I would never have thought about that. The sort of sideways approach that I just would never have guessed. And, this idea I don't think is really understood, and it's not well, at least from my perspective, it's not well talked about. And I think it's actually like the key thing to approaching conversations with a lot of people, right? It is coming to the table. This is the difference, right? Like, I think economics and, the way that we approach things in the economic sort of logic of the strategy field, I think misses the mark completely. I think it actually, what strategy should be about is a lot more about therapy and approaching it from a therapist perspective. We are actually tapping into and feeding off of what somebody else is saying and doing and feeling. And, you are there to help fill in the gaps when individuals need that information for whatever reason. Sort of and it doesn't necessarily mean that it has to be like, I'm not saying, the therapy perspective. I'm not saying like you're solving all of their problems and all that kind of stuff. It could be humor, right? People just need that connection. It could be any sort of thing where people are needing a connection to resonate with. So it's not really like head on, but it's very on the side. If you think about all of the people that have really taken off and all of the products that have really taken off, they're never really head on, right? Like if you said, here's a bottle of water, people would be like, But if you say it's Dasani, then people get it. Because there's an emotional connection to what that actually is. And they're willing to pay a whole bunch of extra money for something that they could have gotten free anyways. So I want to want you to sort of think about this is as you're communicating with other people, figure out how you can find that connection so that you can really understand. And it's really a lot of understanding and empathy and really spending some time communicating with other people and listening to what they're feeling when they're saying things. I think this is a super profound, important lesson, and few people will listen to it because I'm going too head on with it. And I think it's fascinating. All right, take care and have a wonderful day.